Hello and welcome to Reporters on France 24. I'm James Creedon. In this edition, we meet Rose, a young South Sudanese athlete who was forced to flee her war-torn country. Last summer, at the Rio 2016 Olympics, she became the face of refugees the world over when she carried the Olympic flag on behalf of a special refugee delegation. This was a first ever at the Olympic Games. Rose entered the Maracana stadium to thunderous applause, and she also entered the history books. But after this moment in the spotlight, what has become of Rose Nathike? The world's cameras were trained upon her last summer, but her ordeal has not ended, and the plight of her family and many more is far from over. This is a report by Katia Clarence and Bastien Ranouille.
My name is Rose Nathike. I'm 23 years old and I'm running in 800 meter. I went to Olympic and participated in Rio 2016.
Born in the south of Sudan, Rose was spotted in a refugee camp in the north of Kenya, just 8 months before the start of the Olympics. Picked to become a member of a special team the International Olympic Committee created for athletes forced into exile by war. Rose was not only selected but chosen to carry her delegation's banner, the Olympic flag.
When we enter into the Maracana stadium in Brazil, the people were really welcoming us, we were receiving, and for us refugees, we feel that we are a human being like others. We think the world is caring for us. You know, the word refugee is not a good term, it's just a status, and it need you to work hard so that you change that name.
Like the other 9 members of her team, Rose didn't win any medals, but instead she gained the hope of a career. And that is no mean feat. Rose's life itself is a long-distance race, lined with obstacles. After she was spotted, Rose was brought here to the Tegla Larupe Foundation's training centre near Nairobi. She continues to live there now and trains alongside 20 other athletes, most of whom are men also from South Sudan. She gets 3 meals per day, electricity, running water. The Kakuma refugee camp where she used to live now seems a lifetime away. And yet, in the quiet times, it's still very much on her mind. She left behind 2 younger brothers and a younger sister at the camp. She's only been able to see them once since she left, as part of a visit organised by the foundation shortly after the Rio Olympics.
They even sent for me some pictures. He's called David Taban. He's dancing inside the house. He's dancing like a snake.
Do you miss them?
Yeah, but at least I'm communicating with them. But those who are in Sudan, we don't keep in touch with them.
Oh, how long have you see your parents?
Me, I have 15 years in Kenya, since when I was 8 years old. But they left when I was 14 years old. They left back to Sudan.
Rose's parents remain in South Sudan. Her brothers and sisters are left to fend for themselves in Kakuma. She would like to go and see them, but the foundation restricts its athletes' movements. The camp is just a 2 hours flight north and 130 kilometers away from the South Sudanese border. Kakuma, the second largest refugee camp in the world. It's more like a city with 200,000 inhabitants, most of whom are from South Sudan. It's a temporary camp that was set up 25 years ago. Many of the youngsters here know little else. Rose's siblings are among them. Dominique, David, the breakdancer, and Natalena, who has been put in charge since their big sister left.
Take the keys and close the door.
Every morning they go to school. There are 24 schools in Kakuma, yet the nearest is a good half-hour's walk away. A measure of the camp's size and their motivation to go to school despite being away from their parents.
I go to school and I want to study so that I can get a good job and be able to help my family. There's a war in our country and it's not good that they are there. When I have money, it means I can bring them here.
Good morning, class.
When they're not studying, the camp's youngsters don't have much else to do except play sports. But since the Rio Olympics, they don't just run to pass the time. They know that half of this year's refugee team came from Kakuma. The residents of the camp watched their fellow refugees compete thanks to a projector. Motivation enough to believe that one day sport may be able to get them out of the camp.
Look, it's Rose. She's carrying the flag in front of everyone, in front of the whole stadium.
I'm very proud of her. She did everything she could to reach the top. She's gone far and now she's famous. We were very young when our parents were living with us in Kakuma. They left and we stayed here alone. We never heard from them again.
It's been 9 years since they last heard from them. To find out any information about them, one must go to where the houses are still being built, where the camp's latest arrivals are just moving in. These women come from the same village as Rose's parents.
We had to leave Chukudum because there had been fighting going on there for several days. That's why we left our homes. We don't know who it was who attacked us. The war broke out in the middle of the night, and we ran away, we fled. There were bodies everywhere. And we fled, leaving our families behind us, our parents, our mothers, our grandparents. We haven't had any news since then.
News that causes immediate concern among Natalena, Dominique and David. But a phone call from their elder sister Rose reassures them. She has managed to contact their uncle in South Sudan.
Hello?
He has news for her. Their father is alive. He's at their uncle's house in town. Their mother is also alive. She has had 4 more children and she has stayed in the village with them. Rose's father is in Capoeira, just 200 kilometers away on the other side of the border in South Sudan. South Sudan is the world's youngest nation, created in 2011 from the partition of Sudan after 50 years of civil war between the Muslim majority of the north and the Christian rebels of the south. But barely 2 years after winning their independence, the ex-rebels from rival ethnic groups began to contest power and sparked a new civil war, which is still being fought today. In Capoeira, an uneasy calm reigns, but it has a hospital at least, and that is the reason why John, Rose's father, is here. He is seriously ill. A month ago, he moved into his brother's home so that he could receive treatment. When he lived in Kakuma, John had a medical service and he was safe. The decision to return home 9 years ago wasn't out of choice.
I left because of a family matter. My father died. That is why I left Kakuma. As the eldest of the family, I had to replace him. I left the children behind, and I went to take care of my mother and brothers and sisters.
Why did he left the kids in Kakuma?
Because of school. That's why I left them. I would have liked to have taken them with me, but they need to study.
John's condition has improved since he arrived from the village. But he still has to make regular hospital visits. He's not alone. Many of his fellow patients have also come a long way. Many are suffering from malaria. Others come to treat serious injuries, not caused by war, but another problem they face: cattle raiding. Armed groups take advantage of the fledgling country's instability to attack other tribes' villages and steal their livestock. And for cattle raiders, human life is worth less than animals.
The inlet, this is the outlet. Okay? Yeah.
Can you ask him what happened?
They came with weapons. We were in our homes and they attacked us. There were lots of them and just 9 of us.
I think
Those 2 men over there were burnt inside the houses.
They burned them in the house?
in the houses, yes, including children.
All of these patients come from the area where Rose's mother, Veronica, is, and John hasn't heard from her in a month. She lives alone with the 4 children they have had since they returned to Sudan. The next day, sharing John's concern, we help to hire a car to go and fetch Veronica and their children from the village. Peter volunteers to go. It's a long drive and he will need to walk for hours. John is still too weak, so he has to stay behind. Peter returns late at night with good news. Veronica and the children are there, under the mosquito net, safe and sound.
So I start footing from 12 to 7. Reaching home, I found no one was at home. People are sleeping in the bush.
Why?
Because of these cattle raiders. Last time there was a burning of houses, people were burned in the houses. So now people are fearing.
I'm really happy that we've come here, because it's really hard there. We live like monkeys. We sleep in the bush. See this little one? Normally he doesn't stop crying. And now he's fine, because he's had something to eat. He's happy.
For the family to be truly reunited, they still need Rose, Natalena, David and Dominique. We show Veronica, John and their children our footage from Nairobi and Kakuma. It's the first time they've seen their oldest children in 9 years, and for the infants it's the first time they have ever seen their siblings.
David Taban. He's dancing breakdance.
There is both laughter and tears as they listen to Rose talking about her life-changing moment.
Then it happened that I participated in 10 kilometers and become number 2. That's when I got the chance to be selected there, and they brought us to Nairobi here to train at the camp.
Did she change since you haven't seen her?
She has changed a lot. My daughter has grown up in a foreign country, far away from me. I really am so proud.
I'm happy that I've been able to see her on the screen. Now I need to see her in person. To see her like I can see them.
Rose's parents record a message for their daughter and entrust us with the task of delivering it to her. We catch up with her in Nairobi. She has just returned from Sweden, where Rose was invited to talk about her experience. Her parents live a lot closer to her, but seeing them in the flesh feels like light years away.
I'm really happy to have seen all of your faces. David, Dominique, Natalena and you. To have seen these images of you after all this time has gone by without you. I'm here in South Sudan. I don't know when I'll get the chance to see you again. When we can all be together again, reunited as a family. But I'm so happy that I've seen you all.
Thank you, Rose. You've done something very important. The other children should look at what you have accomplished and follow your path. Especially the boys. Look at how a girl has succeeded. You should all follow in her footsteps.
Rose can smile, because running no longer means running away. Instead, it provides an opportunity, a chance of one day being able to reunite her family, to take great strides away from her past, and to build a better future.
That was a report by Katia Clarence and Bastien Renouy, and it brings us to the end of this edition of Reporters. Do stay tuned for more news coming up shortly.